Welcome to today's Passive Investing Made Simple Masterclass. I'm your host, Whitney Elkins-Hutton. And today I have a question for you. Have you ever followed information on social media or in an investor forum about a deal or an operator only to learn later on that once you got into that deal, things were going to go grossly awry? If that is you, learning today's webinar is all about learning about this information illusion that occurs in headlines, in mastermind groups, in investor groups, and how you can kind of cut through the hype and de-risk this information illusion from being one of probably your biggest investment risk. Now, if this is the first time you're joining today's webinar, Passive Investing Made Simple Masterclass, I'm your host, Whitney Elkins-Hutton, and today we're going to talk about not being misled, how to cut through hype, fear, and fake credibility in these particular uh, headlines and news articles you might read, investor groups or forums. And I'm not saying that all of this information is necessarily bad. It's just that that's what we spend our time here doing is learning how to evaluate deals so we can invest safely. And we need to learn how to evaluate this information that we see online. Now, you're in the right place if you want to learn how to turn your active income and savings into long-term income and passive wealth. So maybe you have actually tried to invest in a passive deal before, but couldn't get comfortable making the investment. Or you actually invested in a deal only later to discover that it wasn't the right fit. Or you are a seasoned investor and you want to level up your skills. If that's you, you're in the right place. And if this is the first time you and I are meeting, my name is Whitney Elkins-Hutton. I'm the Director of Investor Education here at PassiveInvesting.com. And if you're watching the video, this is the whole reason why I invest in real estate actively and passively is so I can spend time with my family and friends. And my choice is to spend it as much as I possibly can traveling and in nature. But what's allowed me to do that is actually crafting a portfolio where I have been largely hands off, where I've had 100% control and choice on how I spend my time. Now, I work incredibly hard, but it's the control and choice on how I spend my time. And I've chronicled that journey in my book, Money for Tomorrow, which you can find on Amazon. But really, again, today, the whole point of the Passive Investing Made Simple Masterclass is if you are like me, you want to have a portfolio that provides you control and choice on how you spend your time. Stick with me. We are going to dive into several skills that you need to build in order to do that. But I also invite you to join me at the Passive Investing Club. There, we have additional resources for you to help you level up your journey. Also, you can jump on a one-on-one call with me and we can discuss your investing goals and what the next step might be there. And then if you're looking for vetted deals, we have those as well. So join me at passiveinvestingwithwhitney.com. Now, today was kind of a nebulous opening, right? Like you probably found this webinar through an email list or a social media post, maybe on like social media like LinkedIn in a forum in LinkedIn or something like that. And so, yeah, you're probably like, well, Whitney, hello, I came across you probably in some form or fashion through some sort of article on another site. So why are you now telling me that this could be my number one investing risk? Here's the thing. The reason why today's topic matters is that we are drowning in social media posts, forum opinions, news headlines, and quite frankly, paid endorsements, which you as a limited partner may not know that posting in a forum is actually by somebody who has an interest in the deal, that it's actually in a paid arrangement. But we treat all this information as equal, as if it all carries the same weight in our investment decisions. And that actually is a huge cost. Okay. As investors, we know to look at a deal and to do due diligence. We know to look at the operator. We know to look at the market. We know to evaluate this deal according to our investment goals, our risk, our timeline, our risk capacity. We know how to check all these boxes, but what we might actually stumble into unknowingly is mistaking these posts, these forum opinions and headlines, mistaking this influence for actual credibility. It could mean wasting an incredible amount of time researching the wrong operators, researching the wrong deals, or maybe you actually turn away from somebody that actually is credible because of somebody else's uncredible post. But here's the thing. At the end, the cost is, missed place capital, wrong choices. And again, it's either investing in a deal or losing out on a deal. Okay. But here's the thing, we can actually avoid this risk if we have a good framework to learn how to mediate, to evaluate this information that we see in all these like little snippets, social media snippets, 60-second reels, forum opinions. Okay. So that is the skills gap that I want to help you close today. Okay. You have mastered, especially if you've been sticking here with me, you've mastered setting your goals. You've mastered underwriting deals, looking at finances, looking at the markets, looking at the operators. Okay. If not, if you're still needing to close one of those skills gap, visit our YouTube page at passiveinvesting.com, DOT.com, and there you can actually find all of this information to help close those skills gaps. You can also reach out to me directly at whitney@passiveinvesting.com. I'll help connect you to the video that you need to close that skill gap. But what's missing is actually underwriting the information that's being posted all over the place around the asset class, around the operators, around the markets, and around the deals. Okay, we take some of these like little quick snippets as financial truths, as information truths, as gospel truths. Okay, but really, social media, forum posts, stuff like that, it is meant to grab attention. Some of which is clickbait, okay, meaning there's an alternative motive behind it, but it might actually be, somebody who just doesn't know what they're talking about. Okay. That loves create fear mongering. Okay. That has a hang up for whatever reason. Okay. So we need to learn how to separate real insight from the misleading noise. Just because somebody has a platform doesn't mean they have proof. All right. So I want to arm you with a skill. That's always my goal is to teach you how to build a skill that's going to keep you in a good investing position, keep you in some level of control. And today I created the filter. It's called Truth Filter. All right? Why not? Let's line it up with us trying to find the truth. Okay, so this is a filter that you can use for assessing any post, any claim, any opinion that you see online. Right? And we really have to ask ourselves 5 questions. Does that person making the statement have the track record? Have they actually done the thing that they are claiming they've done, positively or negatively? Okay. All right. Have they actually understood the real returns of the deal? Okay. Is it their deal and they're showing the real returns, or are they commenting on somebody else's deals that they actually are they're just, subjectively trying to make some sort of educated guess about it and they really don't know? Do they have an unbiased validation? Has somebody actually verified their claim? Okay. Have there been third-party checks? Okay. Maybe it's third party, with a lawyer or a CPA or an accounting firm. Or is it just somebody like, within the forum that has actually been like, yeah, actually, I've been in that deal and this is, I can confirm or deny this person's claim. Is this person actually leading with transparency? Are they linking to sources? Are they disclosing their motivation? Are they disclosing their connection to the deal, either positively, negatively? And do they have a clean history of actually being transparent? All right. And then at the end, how has, we've all been investing in the market for the past 3 or 4 years. I mean, if you've been in the passive real estate market, you probably have had a deal that has experienced some sort of challenges. And how has the operator handled that adversity? Is that person making that post claim or opinion, have they been through such trials by fire and weathered a downturn? Or are they only commenting on something post crisis and have never actually handled that situation themselves? So, we have this filter that we can use, and we'll dive a little bit deeper into some of the nuances here. But I want to arm you with some clear red flag language that if you see this in some sort of post or a comment, or you hear it in a video, this could be like, cause to, I'll say red flag, but mostly I want your like little alarm bell in your head to go off and be like, I need to dig deeper because this is not unbiased, whatever I'm reading and hearing right now. Okay. And this actually can go for post comments and stuff like that outside of real estate, quite frankly. Where I found this data actually was not connected to any sort of financial claims, but it was about how to actually discern misinformation on the internet. And so these type of statements that we're going to go over here, language patterns, are meant to manipulate you. So let's go through these and learn which ones that maybe we've encountered recently that we need to kind of like pause a little bit. Okay, so number one, emotional hooks. No one is telling you this, what they don't want you to know. Okay, now this can be the opening of almost every single video on YouTube, quite honestly. Okay, that is what the framework is. Snag somebody with a hook. But you should always pause. Are you getting real, valid, truthful information, transparent information after that hook? So those are things that are kind of like emotional hooks. Okay. Vague accusations. This could be this operator is running out of cash. Okay. And that's it. That's the extent of the data, quote unquote data they're going to give you. So there's no specifics or evidence or context that backs that up as to why they think that. Okay, so we need to be aware of vague statements, vague accusations. All right. Other things, absolutes and urgencies. You must exit now or you will lose everything. Everyone knows that this is going to fail. Now, I recently was watching some videos on YouTube on a very well-respected professor who talks about dividend investing. The guy's been investing for over 25 years and he's very well followed and very well invested. And there were videos right after saying you will lose it all if you follow this guy's advice. Okay, so what was happening there? Somebody else was trying to create absolutes and urgency in order to get eyeballs. Okay, then missing sources. Okay, this kind of ties back into our vague accusations. And usually we see these two in tandem whenever we find them on social media or in forums and stuff like that. But if somebody makes a very vague post, okay, and they're not disclosing their relationship to either the deal or the operator or whatever it is to the person of interest that they're commenting about, are they actually backing it up with any sort of data? Links to offering memorandums, investor updates or anything like that? Is there any sort of financial documents? Okay, this can be somebody commenting negatively, or it could be even the operators themselves. Okay, we want to see, again, just like we would do our own due diligence on a deal, we want to see the proof. We want not just opinions, we want to be presented the facts. Okay, so if that is our framework, the truth framework, if those are the red flags, then what makes somebody credible in private real estate investing? Okay. So, in no particular order, we want to make sure that we're seeing somebody with the, transparency and skin in the game. Okay. That's Huge. Transparency is huge. They need to be attached to the deal. Okay. They need to have some sort of skin in the game. And honestly, multiple kind of irons in the fire. Are they putting their money in? Are they putting their resources in? Are they putting their time in? I want to see multiple irons in the fire when it comes to skin in the game. Um, do they have a full cycle track record? Okay, that is somebody that we want to invest with. Somebody that has actually taken deals, multiple deals, full cycle, within ideally multiple environments that are good, and also environments that were challenging as well. You want to make sure that that person that you're investing with has access to direct financials. Okay. Meaning they have access to profit and loss statements. Okay. Maybe third-party reviews or third-party audits of financials. Okay. We don't want somebody to hand you over just a spreadsheet that was put together that anybody, quite frankly, can put together on Excel. We want to make sure that somebody, whoever you're investing with, this kind of feels like, vetting an operator, but has aligned incentives, okay, with you, and that they're putting personal capital at risk. If that's somebody that we want to invest with, we also want to hear from this type of person when it comes to our information that we're going to be taking in to evaluate whatever that, operator, market, or deal is about. Okay. Somebody that has the transparency, skin in the game, has the track record, has access to the financials, has, aligned incentives. Okay. So I've already given you a couple examples of how to put this truth filter into action, but here was something that came across my radar recently. And there was a LinkedIn post that it called out a real estate strategy as a Ponzi scheme with zero supporting data. And in the comments, as I read through the comments back and forth, a lot of people were like, "Oh no, that's a Ponzi scheme. I'm going to lose all my money. Like, I'm going to contact the operator and try to get out of the deal." Somebody paused and asked a couple questions. They were like, "What's your connection to the deal? Do you have money in this deal? Do you actually know the financials? What is your substantiation that this is a Ponzi scheme?" And quite frankly, that poster didn't have any of those connections. They had no personal history with the investment. They had actually never invested in that asset class before, believe it or not. They had no third-party verification, zero resources, and nor did they disclose their motivation for making that post. And it was very unclear what if they'd actually ever navigated a market downturn effectively. So the key lesson here is you don't have to be an expert. You just have to be able to pause and ask the right questions. I don't know if you've ever read the book Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, but really our whole life is in that pause. Okay. Now we talked, that's about, some information, a framework to learn how to evaluate information that we see like in news articles or information we see online that are kind of masquerading as quote unquote news articles or forum posts or on social media, things that are meant to grab your attention. Okay. Again, we now know the red flag language for you to understand how you're being manipulated and for you to figure out, is that a legitimate piece of information I need to pay attention to? But here's the thing, and I have a kind of a quasi relationship. I don't even know how to say it, like maybe love-hate relationship, but community forums. I think community forums for investors are an amazing opportunity for investors to come together, collaborate, share information with each other. However, we still have to be very careful. We need to bring that truth framework into that community. And not take any information posted in there at face value. We still have to evaluate everything because a lot of communities, there are paid to play. Okay, the limited partner, you, might have to pay like an annual fee in order to belong to the community. Okay, also, the community's value might be to bring deals and operators to you so you can evaluate them. Okay. This is a very common structure. 100% above board. Everything is promoted or actually disclosed to you as a limited partner. But you have to always have the question in the back of your head, who does that community really serve? Okay. And I honestly go back to the question, who pays the bigger fee? The limited partner or the operator that's bringing the deal to the group? Who is paying the biggest fee? So anyways, you want to make sure if you're in a community group that there's some additional, we're going to move down the line, vetting context here. Okay. So is that group actually vetting operators, vetting deals, and are they doing it live with you? Okay. Or are they doing it privately before they bring you the deal? Doesn't really matter either way, some sort of vetting. Okay, we're getting a little bit closer to making sure that the community illusion, the illusion part, is being dismembered here. But I always have to ask the question now, if this vetting is happening, by whose due diligence standards? Okay, again, I'm still probably, got to just use my truth framework to discern the information that's being presented to me. So then I want to move a little bit further. I look for groups where they actually are teaching me in an unbiased way how to actually vet the deal myself. So here's a question that I'll leave you with. Where are you assuming vetting is happening when it actually isn't? Okay. Are you joining these community groups, these mastermind groups? I've seen mastermind groups that have the tickets of 500,000 or not 500,000, $50,000 a year to join, okay? Which there could be immense value there, but if you're assuming that you don't have to discern any other information in that group, okay, you gotta realize what's happening there. Okay. So again, your ownership framework, we've got our truth framework, okay, our T.R.U.T.H framework, but you still have to be able to use that framework to discern information, identify that red flag language pattern that's being presented. You still have to use all of your due diligence checks to verify the real data being presented, track records, evidence of whatever claim is being made. And then you need to decide whether you want to confidently move forward with taking that piece of information and applying it to your investor thesis. Okay. This will get you out of playing in somebody else's fear and hype. Okay. This puts you back in control. All right. So wrapping up, okay, we covered a lot today. Okay. A lot of, uh, kind of heavy topics that I don't see many or any operators really addressing, or even limited partners really addressing, is the hype and the fear that it can be generated through headlines, through social media, through just comments and investor forums. So I wanted to leave you with an actual tool to help you work through this. Because remember, loud voices don't actually mean they're qualified. Social proof does not mean that is actually qualifies, that piece of information that's being presented to you actually qualifies as due diligence. Okay. And we want to make sure that you're dealing in certainty in facts. All right, guys, if you're here live, don't go anywhere. We're about to start the Ask Me Anything part of our show. But if you aren't here live, if you're looking or watching on YouTube or your favorite podcast player of choice, make sure to join passiveinvestingwithwhitney.com. There we can talk about your investing goals and how we can help you meet those goals. And we have a myriad of other resources to help you build your skills and be an amazing passive investor. If you're here live, don't go anywhere.